Thank you for joining Module 6 of the Find the Fit series. This module, titled Finding Success in an Unfamiliar Place, shows you how to use a research-based activity and a student-driven tool that can help participants believe in and envision their own success in unfamiliar environments. Please note that this webinar makes reference to the Upward Bound program, but Find the Fit may also be appropriate for other college access programs. Collectively, the modules in the Find the Fit series attend to three sets of challenges: financial hurdles, limited expectations, and logistics and motivation in applying. Individually or together, these challenges may mean that participants may not know about or may rule out colleges that might in fact be a great fit for them. Because participants may engage in too narrow a search, they may not experience the best outcomes possible, either in terms of their ultimate college choice or in persistence. By narrowing the window of possible choices, these challenges often can lead to a poor college fit, which unfortunately can lead to poor outcomes. The modules are designed to address these specific challenges, and addressing these challenges can result in participants engaging in a better, broader search to aim high and find their best college fit. We believe that engaging in that better, broader search alone can yield a better college fit for participants that in turn can yield better outcomes in terms of post-secondary persistence and graduation rates. Today's module provides an activity to help participants raise their expectations about where they could go to college so that they can find a good fit among their college options. To begin with, it's really important that we help participants understand why they're doing this activity. So before we jump in, we've provided some background in the Advisor Handbook. Starting on page 26 of the Advisor Handbook, you'll find ways to talk to participants about what this breaking beyond the familiar activity is. And basically, it has four parts. First, participants will hear via video how their peers learn to adapt to an unfamiliar college and how their experiences helped them feel more confident as a result. Second, participants will think about a time they also managed to negotiate an unfamiliar situation and how they felt about that. Third, participants will share their stories with you individually or other participants. And last, advisors will check in with participants to discuss this more and help put these stories in the context of being willing to explore the unfamiliar and not allowing the unfamiliar to limit their college expectations. In the Advisor Handbook, you'll find some suggested language for starting this conversation with participants. Here's a sample of what you could say to a participant. What if, while you're searching for a college, you run across one that really excites you? It's got the programs you want, you qualify for it academically, you figured out that it's affordable, and it's in a good location. But no one you know has ever gone there, or it's not close to home. Would you apply? And if you're accepted, would you seriously consider going? The truth is that everyone has doubts like this about college, particularly those schools we're not familiar with. These doubts can include things like living away from home and away from families and high school friends, meeting people from different cultures and not being sure how to interact with them, managing free time when your day isn't fully structured like in high school, not knowing which opportunities to take advantage of, or not knowing if you'll fit in, and dealing with more challenging classes. The Advisor Handbook has additional suggested language to help you prepare participants for the activity. Again, as the advisor, you could say something like this. These kinds of experiences are normal in the transition to college. Everyone goes through them. However, we want to talk about how dealing with them gets better with time. You adjust to college, even one that's challenging, and it can be worth it for a college that's a great fit for you. Today we're going to do an activity to help demonstrate that. We'll start by watching some videos of college students sharing their experiences of how they felt before going to college and how they adapted. Then we'll ask you to tell your own stories. And finally, we'll ask you to share your stories with other people. To help you do this activity with your participants, we've provided an activity guide in the handbook that you can find on page 28. The guide walks you through the full activity, provides helpful tips, and suggests discussion questions to help your participants develop a growth mindset. Participants can also do this activity on their own by using the handout in their student materials that walks them through it. To make sure they get the most out of the activity, try to have a short discussion with any participants completing it on their own. If you're doing this in a group, students can still use the handout to follow the steps. To support your use of the activity with participants, we want to use this module to demonstrate it in action. Again, the first part of this activity is to watch and listen to growth mindset stories from other students. Showing other students being vulnerable enough to express their initial anxieties about the unfamiliar and the strategies they use to address those concerns lets participants know that everyone has concerns about going to college. It's an unfamiliar environment for everyone. If they feel concerned about going someplace new, they're not alone. However, over time, this gets better as we grow and adapt to the challenges presented by the new experiences. We've collected a handful of stories from college students, some of whom are Upward Bound alumni, where they share their stories of doubt and explain how they adapted to college. The video we're going to show you today is a compilation of several different students sharing their stories. Every student in the compilation also has his or her more detailed video for you and for participants to view. In the Advisor Handbook, there are web links and guidance for accessing the compilation video you'll see today, as well as all of the additional individual student videos that share more information about the students portrayed and the strategies they use to succeed in college.
My name is Femi. My name is Femi.
My name is Elsie.
My name is Eliza Miller.
Shabeli Arroyo.
My name is Patrick.
Beatrice Smoot.
My name is Chesley.
When I first came to college, I had a little bit of trouble making close friends.
I had made friends during my orientation week, but we didn't have the same major or classes after that.
When you're in high school, it's really easy to make friends because you're stuck in classrooms for 6 hours a day, and it just kind of comes naturally since you're around people all the time. But in college, you're only in class 16 hours a week, and then you go straight to your dorm, and it's not as organic.
My downfall was procrastination. Procrastination is when you wait till the last minute, and I was always waiting for the last minute. After a while, reality sets in, like, you're 800 miles away from home, none of your friends are really there, family, anything. So, of course, you get a little depressed or sad, you know? Like you miss home.
So after my first class, I immediately felt alone, felt this is a giant campus and I'm a little fish in this giant pond. How am I gonna, make it this entire semester?
When I got there, I didn't know anybody. I was a foreigner. I feel like a foreigner in my own country, right? But I got there, I started talking to people, and that's one of the biggest things that I learned was how to adapt to the culture there. When you go to colleges, you're going to find that the culture is so different. But if you learn how to work most effectively in that culture, then you can be the best student.
The biggest struggle that I had in college was actually realizing what I was good at. I realized math was my strong point in high school, but once I got to college, they told me that I was struggling in math, so it was kind of depressing.
So I started doing my homework in this courtyard where everybody had to go past me and had to talk to me.
Students want to talk to you, upperclassmen. They want to give you advice, so just be humble enough to go to people and talk to them.
Many times I'd, compliment them, say, I like your shirt or things like that, or sometimes people would just come and talk to me, and soon I'd get sort of a small study circle or a group circle or something like that going, and I was able to make some really good friends just that way, being proactive.
My two biggest challenges in college were time management and budgeting. With all the time on my hands, I just didn't know what to do with it. I ended up procrastinating and spending late hours in the night doing projects and online shopping.
If I had to say anything about, changing your behavior or being more friendly, being more open, or trying to accommodate yourself with college, identifying what your interests are and trying to connect with people with the same interests as you.
And I decided, instead of just blowing all the money, to put everything in my savings and put 25% in my checkings and put 75%, the rest of it, in my savings.
I soon realized I needed a planner, something that would help me organize my time wisely. And also, my phone. This was a tool that would help me in my future, not only in college. This is something that will help you relieve stress and not have to worry about staying up till 5 o'clock in the morning typing papers.
I think I'm doing a little bit better with that.
The following week, I kept seeing signs around my school for student engagement coming up. So I went And every organization on campus had like their own like little booth. So I went up to one, and it was named Jules. Jules was a sisterhood organization that went to the inner city in Chicago every Saturday, and we went to talk to kids, help them improve their test scores. We did community service, and we helped them plant things, arts and crafts, dance. Every Saturday, after a while, I forgot about it. Like, I'm here, but I felt like I was at home. But I was still in Chicago because I was doing something that reminded me of home.
I actually realized that English was my strong point because my teacher told me that I had an outstanding story to tell. So I just continued to write my story down on sheets of paper, and it paid off. Now I actually love reading and writing.
That's the great way to make friends. And also just being open to other people, learning new things, experiencing the culture and campus life. That's just a great way to make new friends on campus.
So I would say that has helped me when I go and search for a job. I won't just search for things that are in my comfort zone, but I would go beyond that and really.
Based on the videos, I'm sure you're noticing some common themes in these stories. We want to encourage participants to recognize that each of the students encountered a challenge in college. They're not unique or unusual challenges, but the kinds of things that lots of us struggle with, such as time and financial management, making friends, and academic challenges. In each case, they found ways to overcome the challenge. When they did, their lives were better for it, and they had skills that they can continue to use throughout college and beyond. After showing the video, review the discussion questions in the activity guide. This will help participants transition from the video, where they're seeing examples of the way others like them adapted to new situations, to the next part of the activity, where they'll be able to share their own story. So the second part of the activity involves helping participants realize that although they haven't yet navigated the new situations that college presents, they have had to adjust to other new situations in their lives. For example, participants have transitioned from junior high to high school. They may have moved to different schools or cities or found themselves in a place where they didn't know anyone, or even found a new class really challenging. We want them to realize that they've been able to handle new things in the past. Like the participants in the video, they also manage the challenges of unfamiliar circumstances. Having the participants tell their own story of overcoming the unfamiliar, whatever it is the second component of this activity. We developed a student activity guide to help participants learn about and engage in the activity. Participants can find this in the student materials. You can find copies of this in the advisor handbook. For the participants, the activity guide reads something like this. Since you're not at college yet, you can't tell exactly this kind of story, but we want to ask you to think about ways that you've handled unfamiliar things in the past. And although it might not be obvious to you, it's very likely you have, lots of times. Maybe you were stressed about the transition from junior high to high school. Maybe you moved to a different school or city. Maybe you had a new class that made you nervous. Maybe you went somewhere you'd never been before. We'd like you to share this kind of story with us now. When did you take on something unfamiliar and succeed? Let's take 5 to 10 minutes for each of you to think about this and make some notes on your story. Write it on a handout or in a notebook about the challenges you've experienced and how you've overcome them. Really try to express your story. What was dealing with the new situation like for you, and how did you address it? How have you changed over time? Does the thought of taking on that challenge now feel different than it did then? When everyone's had a chance to jot down some notes on their experiences, we'll ask you to share your stories with us. This third part of the activity involves sharing those stories. As you engage with participants, a lot of things will come up. As much as possible, we want to be consistent about the following. First, we always want to validate participants' experiences and concerns. You, as Upward Bound advisors, have worked hard to build relationships with participants, and we know you probably do this naturally. It's not that they don't have real reasons to be concerned about unfamiliar experiences. Their concerns are totally reasonable. If we act like that's not true, we lose a lot of credibility, and we might set up unrealistic expectations. Second, we want them to recognize that facing challenges in new places doesn't make them weird or unusual. They aren't experiencing these things because they're different from everyone else. Everyone, even the students who look like they fit in perfectly, encounter challenges. Other people will be trying to learn the same things they're trying to learn. Chances are there are tools and resources available, or at least friends who can get through these growth experiences with them. Third, we really want to emphasize that their abilities are not fixed. You've probably seen a lot of growth and development in these participants through the time you've worked with them. During their college years, they can grow and learn even more. When participants attribute challenges to permanent personality traits or speak as though their abilities are set, for example, I'm just too slow a reader to do well at a college like that, or I'm just too shy to make new friends, ask them to think about the ways they've changed in the past. Did they learn how to do things better in the past that were hard for them before? Have they developed parts of their personality that they didn't have before coming to school? Finally, we want them to realize that challenges present us with our greatest opportunities. If they hadn't experienced some of the challenges they ran into in the past, great things about their ability or personality might not have developed. Rather than avoiding challenges as they move forward, participants need to know that they can adapt and see them instead as amazing opportunities to grow. Now, you know that participants may not end up sharing stories that hit these points perfectly. Some of them don't already have a growth mindset after all. Some may not come up with anything to share, or they may have reached different conclusions based on their experiences. This is why you are so crucial in this activity. As advisors, you can help them realize that their past experiences demonstrate the ability to adapt to challenges, and how those experiences helped each of them to become the person they are. We would like to play out what these strategies may sound like in practice. A colleague of mine will play the role of a participant and provide a response that might be pretty common among your participants. Then we'll talk through more or less helpful responses that we can make as we moderate the discussion. In each of the following situations, we'll talk about how we can make sure that the key concepts on the previous slide are reinforced. Okay, here's something you might hear from a participant.
I'm really bad about making new friends. I've had a really hard time in the past, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to feel the same way in college.
Okay, here's a potential response from an advisor. You know what? Most people find meeting new people and trying to make new friends kind of scary. It takes some time and work to make friends. But you do have friends right now, right? You probably learned how to make friends the last time you were forced to. In fact, you'll probably have a chance to get even better at it because everyone else will be trying to make friends too. Can you or someone else in the group share ways that they made new friends in the past? All right, what do you think about this response? Do you think it was appropriate for the student, or that it was okay but could be a little more specific to truly help the participant? Or do you think it was weak and could use more work? Although it might not be perfect, we think this is a pretty good response because it emphasizes that the participant's challenge of meeting new people and trying to make new friends is completely normal, and that he has overcome it in the past so that the participant does have the ability to do it again in the future when he goes off to college. This response is also a good one because it doesn't label the participant as being shy or put a personality attribute on him that he may have trouble seeing as changeable. Also, if the activity is done in a group setting, this can allow other participants to share some insight and tips about how they've learned to deal with this challenge. Okay, here's now what a bad response might have sounded like. But School X is really friendly. Maybe you'll feel lonely the first few weeks, but after that you shouldn't have any trouble. Everyone makes friends. You can always keep in touch with your old friends by text and phone. We think this isn't a very good response because it dismisses the participant's concern and suggests that he won't have to change attitudes or outlook to adjust to college. It also sets an unrealistic expectation about the timeline for adjustment. A few weeks can sound like a long time to a high school student. Furthermore, it suggests that this is no problem for anyone else, which can make the participant feel even worse about his own fears or uneasiness meeting new people and making new friends. Okay, here's another scenario.
I remember when I first started high school, I didn't know my way around and I hated it. I felt so stupid and was always stressing out about getting lost and making it late to class.
Okay, here's a potential advisor response. A college campus is set up a lot like a high school. Most of your first-year classes will probably all be located within one main location and in different buildings and rooms. And it's not a big deal if you're late to class in college. Lots of people are. All right, we think this is a bad response. But why? This is bad because it doesn't validate the problem of a new environment. It sets unrealistic expectations, and it suggests that the participant will probably fail to adjust to navigating a college campus. So what would a better response sound like? Here's one. Sure, at first everyone feels that way. High schools are usually a lot bigger than middle schools, and most colleges will be bigger and have more students than high schools. Let's talk about how you managed to handle this before. How did you deal with it? How long was it before you knew your way around? This is a good response because it acknowledges the issue or challenge. It also highlights that this problem is common and that the participant has found ways to overcome it in the past. These might be social ways, for example, asking for help, figuring things out with friends. It could be organizational tools, like reminders or maps or schedules. Or it could be just gradual learning after becoming familiar with the situation. After a few times, it was no big deal. As the advisor, you can then suggest that some of these same approaches can be applied at the college level, and that the participant might even be able to help others because she overcame this challenge in the past. Okay, let's try one last example.
I had a really tough time with my English class in the 9th grade. I survived it, but I hated it. That's about it.
All right, well, here's an advisor response. That's a good example. You might find classes in college that are tough, too. So let's talk about this a little more. What did you do to survive that 9th grade English class? How do you think about it at the beginning of the year as opposed to now? Were there other students in the class who felt the same way? Do you think you learned anything from that experience? And what did that experience tell you about your ability or preference for other courses? How'd you end up doing in your 10th grade English class? Since then, what have you done when you haven't liked or struggled in other classes? Okay, we think this is a pretty decent response, but why? This response tries to get participants to share their experiences and stories, not just give short quips. Try to help participants to remember the details about their perception, that other participants were feeling the same way, that they actually did more than just survive, and that they found ways to get something from the experience. More importantly, try to keep participants from focusing only on the struggle. Instead, they should concentrate on the growth and improvement they gain through the struggle. Okay, here's what a bad response might have sounded like. That's a good example. If there's an academic subject that you're not good at, your best bet is to avoid those classes that you don't like. Okay, we think this is a bad response because it treats liking a class as a fixed trait, something the participant can't change. It also encourages participants to avoid situations that might challenge them. To wrap up this activity with your participants, these statements will be displayed at the end of the student handout. If your participants do this activity on their own, the student activity sheet closes with these 3 questions, with a scale of 1, strongly disagree, to 5, strongly agree. Participants will be instructed to contact their advisor if they can't circle a 4 or 5. Even this agreement with the statements can help solidify them in participants' minds. For participants who might meet as a group, this is a good time to get them out of their seats. One way to do this is to ask the participants to move to one side of the room, say the right, if they strongly agree, the other, say the left, if they strongly disagree, and somewhere in the middle if they're not sure. Ask the participants on the right to explain why they feel the way they do, and see if you can get all participants to strongly agree with these statements. The idea is that public commitment to an idea and seeing that other participants are on board can help reinforce these concepts further. We understand that this strategy may be new to you and your Upward Bound participants, but we want to make sure you have the most current research-based practices available to you through Find the Fit. Research on growth mindset has shown positive results, and engaging Upward Bound participants in the Breaking Beyond the Familiar activity may help them assess, plan, and succeed. Here is a list of a few important takeaways that we want to make sure everyone is walking away from this experience with today. First, everyone experiences new challenges at college. Second, the skills you gain by dealing with new circumstances can help you throughout your life. Third, the challenges you face are temporary. You'll adapt and grow just as you have in the past. And fourth, a growth mindset can help you now and in the future. If you're watching modules in sequential order, the next module continues to focus on the challenge of raising expectations and provides resources, tools, and strategies to use to help students familiarize themselves with college campuses. If you're not watching in sequential order, which is perfectly fine, the rest of the modules provide a variety of hands-on tools coupled with background information explaining the reasoning behind their development and explanations for using them with participants.